This is a follow-up to my thought experiment, What is the Difference video, which was more than a month ago. And that video and my What Does Alan Watts Have to Do with Atheism videos contributed to it being more than a month since the last time I did an actual vlog that was about something other than me not being able to do vlogs, suffering from vlogs block. And I suspect this is going to go long. I really have no time to edit it. It's going to go long. So what I'm going to try to do is do it in sections. Be very quick about just the direct response to, or the direct part 2 of that thought experiment video, and then let the other issues that came up from it unravel after, so you can sort of stop watching if you're not interested in all the meta thought experiment aspects of this thing. So anyway, meanwhile, the thought experiment. Essentially, my answer to my thought experiment, what is the difference, is no difference. The questions that I asked, the 3 thought experiments that I proposed, were all... Excuse me, I'm being interrupted. What was I trying to say? So the thought experiment, basically all 3 questions that I asked were, in essence, to me, the same question, which was, what does the future have, what effect does the future have on the present? And the answer is no effect. The future is entirely a product of anticipation in the present. And if for any reason the future fails to live up to your anticipation, it has no effect on the moment before, the present moment before things go completely different than you expected. But more precisely than that, we cannot live anywhere but in the present, and so therefore, if the future of our present moment is our own non-existence, then it literally has no effect on us whatsoever, that we don't exist in the future moment. Do you understand? Did I make that clear? If I didn't, I might as well just give up now. And the reason I put it together the way I did was, or the reason I made those 3 questions, which is part of the reason that that this thought experiment has had more of an effect on me than maybe on anybody else in terms of shaking me and confusing me, is my motive for putting it together the way I did was confused, and I have a hard time explaining it. My thought was that these 3 questions might be especially illustrative to, on the one hand, atheists, and on the other hand, theists. For the atheists, I hoped that these questions might tickle some sense of how... Excuse me. I'm sorry. I can hear messages being left on the answering machine in the other room, and it just stops me cold, like so many other things. Where was I? For atheists, I thought that perhaps this formulation of these questions might tickle a kind of a mystical, for lack of a better word, a mystical sense of reality. Because, everyone talks in these very hypothetical terms, whether they're theists or atheists. there there tends to be a belief in the solidity of ideas that are really just ideas, like eternity, infinity. I from an atheist point of view, i.e., from a scientific point of view, the idea of infinity and the idea of eternity are not proved concepts and not even well-defined concepts. And it occurs to me, it's a provisional aspect of my creed, if you will, my atheist creed, my creed that does not, in my mind, conflict with atheism, that another way of looking at forever, another way of looking at eternity, what is eternity is right now. Right now is eternity. You know? Here, I'm still in it. Wherever you go, there it is. Wherever it isn't, there you're not. And since I already have had the experience of not being alive, and it was literally nothing, I know from empirical evidence that there was a time before I was born, but I wasn't there. And if my imagination were to cast me back before I was born, I would know that that was my imagination, but I wouldn't discount my imagination entirely, because it's part of me right now. It's part of it. It's when you start thinking of yourself in terms of a creature of the present in this way, which I'm explaining terribly. Everything begins to take on a provisional reality. But I can tell I'm digressing away from this point, and this video is going to end up going long anyhow. So the point of the whole thing is, I find an incredible mystical rush, or if you will, an incredible empirical rush from contemplating the idea that I am a creature of the present. Because if I try to capture the present, well, it went somewhere, it's gone. But the minute I let go of trying to catch it, well, it's right here, it's always with me. The present, I'm in the present. And if I were not in the present, if a present arrived that I was not in, I wouldn't be there. I can't explain it any better, but I feel like this is a truth that all atheists acknowledge. I mean, I've never heard of an atheist who believed in an afterlife but no God. Maybe there are. There's probably one of everything that you can think of in terms of different kinds of people. But you know, all atheists sort of acknowledge that you're going to die someday, and then you'll just cease to exist. And you know, we all, as atheists, you know, will answer back to a Christian. You know, I'm not in Mark Twain's words, I'm not worried about being dead, because I was dead for, you know, billions of years before I was born, and it didn't affect me at all. And all I was trying to do for the atheists was tickle the mystical largeness of this insight, that it's like a gift that's staring you in the face. It's like well, I'm going to shut up about it, because as I say, when I thought about what I thought I was trying to prove by going through this rigmarole with the questions, when I thought about what I was trying to prove to theists, it all kind of fell apart for me, because it keeps coming back to something that is like central to me, which is I love to talk, and I love to conceptualize, and I love concepts, and I like to contemplate them. But I feel that I learned about a quarter century ago, I learned a fundamental truth, which is that, as I have said in a number of videos, the way that can be spoken of is not the true way. That we don't have to do anything, but I prefer to always remind myself that whatever I'm thinking is by definition a limited set. You know, awareness is a matter of exclusion rather than inclusion. If you literally were aware of everything at once, you would be essentially aware of nothing. You have to pick and choose in order to understand stuff. But I'm going. Things are falling. I'm being buried under drifts of junk that have to be cleaned up. But instead, I'm doing video blogs. So anyway, to theists, I thought that perhaps these questions might suggest that this obsession with eternity was a little problematic. That if you literally live in the present, then if you believe that you're going to get something in the future, but then you don't, and you're not there to find out that you didn't get it, then it literally, it doesn't change this basic sense of living in the present. If you live in the present and you believe that there's a life after death, and you die and you wake up and there you are, and you're actually in heaven, and God says, and you feel it and you know it and you have this fantastic experience, whatever it is, and God says, and this will go on forever, and you go, yay, and a second later he flips the switch and you are literally canceled out of existence. If you live in the present, it's as if and here again, this is one of the reasons that this all fell apart for me. It makes sense to me, but I don't feel that I'm explaining it well, and I question whether I want to be any kind of evangelist to either atheists or theists about ideas that I have. I just want to express them. I don't want to try too hard to make people understand them. I want to get better at expressing them, but not necessarily better at selling them to the public. Although I you know, if I feel like I know what I'm talking about, I really want to feel like I said it right as best I could, and I just feel like I'm not doing a good job on that, and so that contributed to me not being able to just jump right in and do more vlogs. Something or someone doesn't want me to finish this video. As you can see by the light, a lot of time has passed. I had to stop recording to do something, and I came back and started recording and recorded for like 20 minutes, only to discover that Final Cut had stopped capturing for some reason. So I'm really going to try to just speed through the rest of this. Anyway, I think I've, as adequately as I can, explained the whole feeling of living in the present that I was trying to evoke with this thought experiment, and how unhappy I was with the quality of the design of my experiment. But more than that, as I got into the subject of living in the present and the nature of the present, it just became more and more clear to me that this issue was just so vast and so full of other subjects that I couldn't wrap it up to my own satisfaction, and hadn't even really gotten my own ideas clear in my head. Like, for instance, if you sit and contemplate the present, you find that you're contemplating a moment of essentially zero duration. That if the present had any duration at all, it would be partially the past, or partially the future, or partially both. And so, what is it? You know, is it really just the accumulation of memories of the past and anticipations of the present. How could that be? And certainly from a subjective point of view, we don't really live in the present. We live in a few fractions of a second later, when our minds have been able to process what we've experienced of the present, and it becomes a memory which is inexorably fading out into the blur of the unknown in the past, and is leading into the next increasingly specific and accurate anticipation of the future. It's just too much for me. My head, explodes when I try to do it. You can't see that, but you just have to have faith. It goes. Little Bob is not a brainiac, despite my best brainiac act. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Is sort of the feeling that that video caused to grow in me. Then the other issue was I had specifically asked a question: what is the difference, as a thought experiment? I had invited people to respond, and I got 8 video responses, and thank you, all of you, for answering. But what I realized almost immediately when I looked at them was I felt this tremendous responsibility to answer them, and I just couldn't. One of the reasons I got involved in YouTube was to have conversations that I couldn't have in real life because I just don't have the right people around me. I haven't been able to find them anyway. And I want it to be a back and forth, but I can't manage to be a responsible back and forth converser or debater in video form, or for that matter in comment form. And I just have to, I sort of wish it were otherwise, but this is just who I am, and I'm sorry. And I also wish I were the kind of, there are plenty of vloggers who love to say, oh, fuck you, I'll talk whatever I want, and I'm not here to answer anybody, I'll just do whatever I want. And I think that is what that's sort of what I'm here for, but I have to couch it in an apology. I want people to respond to me, and I will respond to other people as the spirit moves me. Which brings me around to Blue Adept. You, not only in your response, you reframe the questions in a new form, but you also specifically asked me in an email to look at your videos, and I kind of said I would, and I did, but I'm not really. I can't respond. I can't jump in like some other people have to go back and forth with you. I didn't get onto YouTube to debate, although I did get onto YouTube to see things that were interesting to me and respond to them. But unfortunately, it's just not going to be formal. It can't be formalized. And I will either get around to doing some kind of, I kind of promised one, is what I'm saying, and I didn't deliver, and now I'm kind of saying that I'm sorry, I probably am not going to deliver, but I might do a video. But just the anticipation of trying to respond to your videos has was just contributing to my freezing up on this whole subject, and I can't let myself freeze up. I've got to either go forward with this or put it aside, because it really is interfering with other tasks that take up massive amounts of time on their own. So if it isn't easy, I can't do it. And if I don't do it, I can't sit around thinking about it. So this is my problem, and I'm just making it clear. I will say this, though. You're clearly interested in things that are things that I'm also interested in. You're talking about consciousness as thinking as an algorithm, the potential for intelligence and things that we might not consider to be intelligent. All of this stuff all of these ideas are ideas that have been presented to me in books that I've read and that are very interesting to me, but I can't claim that I really understand enough about them to really comment. I will say, but okay, to me, one of the most interesting issues right now in the world is this emerging question of what it takes to be conscious, which will, I believe, will continue to become a more and more urgent question as we get closer and closer to what could be considered to be intelligent machines. And our common sense idea of what personhood is, what the soul is, what consciousness is a common sense idea that falls apart the closer you examine it. But by the same token, the idea that a mere process of signals is what we are is so counterintuitive to our sense of self that I mean I can't get how shall I put this? I cannot get too contemptuous of theists who find it impossible to imagine that their consciousness is anything but a special magical person behind the physical scenes. Even though as I say, the closer you examine that idea, the more substanceless it becomes. I mean, if you had a soul, if this soul hypothetically entered the body at birth and left it at death, what would this soul even, obviously the soul would not have your memories unless all of life is just a meaningless picture of something that already existed. The Calvinist approach to Christianity, they don't think it's meaningless, I guess, but just the idea that everything that you are is already contained in a packet of soul has so many begged questions that it just falls apart. I mean, if I'm 49 years old, how does fuck! I just got the change battery pack. I cannot finish this damned. God damn it. There may be a time in the future when I finish this vlog. God knows when that will be. Oh, Blue Adept, what the hell was I saying? What the hell was I talking about? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ in a handbasket. So, yeah. Soul, the soul, memory. Is it the memories? Is it the personality? Is it your endorphin count? I don't even want to get into it right now. The point of the whole thing is I'm interested in the nature of existence, and I believe that that anybody who is scientifically inclined cannot help but admit that whatever we know of existence is filtered through what we are as conscious beings, and since there's a giant mystery involved there's plenty to learn. I'm troubled by a bunch of your arguments which start with proof of God, proof of the soul, proof of this, and then of course I now see, I haven't really watched them all, but I now see that you're like getting into fights with various atheists, and I don't, I can't really follow your arguments all the way through. Most of the time I feel like something is slippery about them. So anyway, if I can perhaps wrap this up. So Blue Adept, your arguments seem to be about things that interest me. I can't follow your logic. When I feel that I can, in a lot of cases, I'm not buying it. But I also can't quite tell what your attitude is toward a lot of what you're saying, because you play the joke card, and I'm terribly sensitive to not picking on people for not communicating their sense of humor well, because my sense of humor has been missed by lots and lots of people. So I'm not really sure what you're all about, and I may never get to really engaging with you, because you seem to be all about debate and about logical proofs and things like that, and I'm not really sure that I can even hold up my end in one of those sorts of things. Maybe I should just embrace the fact that I feel like I'm barely communicating at all at this point. So the point of this whole video is it's another Metabob is falling apart at the seams as a vlogger, vblog, or vlog, whatever. Yeah.